It's easy to remember how The Grinch Stole Christmas as loud, colorful, and chaotic. But behind the cheer was one of the most controlled, exhausting, and high-risk holiday productions ever made.
5 o'clock, solve world hunger. Tell no one.
Actors pushed past physical limits, studios panicked over creative choices, and Dr. Seuss's widow guarded every detail with an iron grip. Somehow, all that pressure created a modern Christmas classic. Today, we're uncovering the weirdest secrets hiding inside Whoville, the ones you were never meant to notice. Was the Grinch really the hero or villain of this movie? Let me know in the comments. When Hollywood first tried to crack a live-action Grinch, Dr. Seuss's widow, Audrey Geisel, didn't open the gates. She built a fortress. She refused to let the project move forward unless strict conditions were met. Only top-tier actors were allowed to play the Grinch, and only directors who had already earned serious money in Hollywood could even pitch their vision. Executives called the rules unreasonable. Agents said no studio would agree. Audrey didn't budge. She had watched too many beloved stories get watered down, and she wasn't about to let that happen again. Ironically, those impossible demands filtered out everyone who would have gotten it wrong and protected the heart of the story before cameras ever rolled. By the time Jim Carrey finally sat down with Audrey Geisel, the decision had already been made. Ron Howard had locked him in as the Grinch long before any formal approval. The meeting wasn't an audition, it was a test of trust. The problem was timing. Carrey was deep into filming Man on the Moon and refusing to break character as Andy Kaufman, even off camera. Audrey knew this going in. The conversation was calm, almost eerie, until Carrey briefly dropped the Kaufman mask. His face twisted into an unnatural grin that looked pulled straight from a Seuss drawing. Audrey later said that single expression erased every doubt she had. When Audrey Geisel reviewed the earliest drafts of the script, she didn't reject them outright, but she didn't recognize them either. The jokes leaned too modern, too sharp, and in her eyes, too far from Dr. Seuss's voice. Instead of making a public fight out of it, she went to work quietly. Line by line, joke by joke, she sent notes back to the writers. Over the course of 8 drafts, Audrey circled anything that felt mean-spirited or overly adult and pushed it out. Her goal wasn't to make the movie safe, it was to make it sincere. By the final version, the rhythm, warmth, and moral tone finally matched the world her husband created. Before filming ever began, the studio had one major fear: that the Grinch's makeup would completely hide Jim Carrey. Early test images only made executives more nervous. Painted green or partially altered, Carrey looked unrecognizable, and not in a good way. Universal worried they were paying for a superstar only to bury him under rubber and fur. Makeup legend Rick Baker insisted full prosthetics were the only way to do the character justice. To settle it, Ron Howard filmed multiple actors in full Grinch makeup and showed the footage to a group of kids. The moment Carrey appeared, every child pointed at the screen and said his name. That reaction ended the debate instantly. Becoming the Grinch wasn't just uncomfortable for Jim Carrey, it pushed him to a breaking point. Each day began before sunrise with hours of prosthetics glued to his face and a full bodysuit packed with dyed yak hair sealed over his skin. The suit trapped heat, restricted movement, and intensified his claustrophobia. His first full makeup session lasted more than 8 hours. By the end, Carrey was shaking with frustration. At one point, the pressure became so overwhelming that he kicked a hole in his trailer wall. He openly questioned whether he could continue. The routine was eventually shortened, but repeating it nearly 100 times turned every day into a mental battle, one that almost cost the movie its Grinch. When Jim Carrey reached his limit, the studio realized motivation speeches weren't going to fix the problem. Universal made an unusual decision. They brought in a specialist trained to help people endure extreme confinement and psychological stress. The techniques weren't about acting at all. They focused on controlled breathing, mental reframing, and staying grounded while trapped inside unbearable conditions. Carrey learned how to slow his panic, regulate his thoughts, and regain control when the suit became overwhelming. The discomfort never disappeared, but his ability to manage it changed everything. Instead of fighting the pain, he redirected it into the Grinch's sharp movements and erratic energy. That struggle didn't weaken the performance, it shaped it. The pressure wasn't just crushing Jim Carrey, it was taking a toll on the people building the Grinch every day. Legendary makeup artist Kazuhiro Tsuji led the transformation, spending hours applying prosthetics while dealing with Carrey's growing frustration. The stress built quietly until members of Tsuji's team suggested he step away for his own well-being. When Tsuji temporarily left the production, the impact was immediate. Carrey realized what had happened and requested a meeting. He apologized, acknowledged the strain, and promised to adjust his behavior. Tsuji returned, and the working relationship shifted completely. What began as tension turned into mutual respect, and the Grinch makeup became one of the most celebrated transformations in film history. The massive mail sorting machine inside Whoville wasn't just a visual gag. The production team engineered it to actually function. Letters were fed in one end, sorted through spinning wheels, chutes, and levers, and dropped into bins in real time. Ron Howard wanted the scene to feel chaotic but believable, so the machine had to move with purpose instead of random motion. Because of this, timing the scene became a nightmare. Missed cues meant letters jammed, gears stalled, and resets took hours. Crew members joked that the machine was smarter than some of the extras operating it. Most viewers assume it's movie magic, but it was a fully operational contraption built solely for a few chaotic seconds on screen. The Grinch's mountain cave scenes were shot using horror film techniques, not family movie lighting. Cinematographer Donald Peterman used deep shadows, harsh angles, and limited fill light to create isolation instead of warmth. Even during comedic moments, the cave stays visually cold and claustrophobic. Ron Howard wanted the audience to feel uncomfortable inside the Grinch's space, not because it's scary, but because it feels emotionally empty. That's why the cave never fully brightens until Max enters the story more deeply. The lighting subtly shifts once companionship exists. It's visual storytelling doing quiet emotional work. Kids see a spooky lair, adults feel loneliness, and neither realizes the camera is guiding that reaction every step of the way. Looking cheerful in Whoville came at a real physical cost. Nearly every Who actor spent hours each day sealed into prosthetic noses, cheeks, and brows glued on with industrial adhesive. The noses weren't just uncomfortable, they restricted airflow so badly that some performers struggled to breathe under the hot set lights. To cope, several actors had thin plastic straws hidden inside the makeup so they could get enough air between takes. Skin irritation, rashes, and allergic reactions became common as the shoot went on. Smiling through it all wasn't acting, it was endurance. Behind Whoville's bright colors and non-stop cheer was a cast quietly fighting discomfort just to stay in character. Max wasn't one perfectly trained dog, he was several. The production used a small team of rescued dogs, each trained for a specific skill. One handled running shots, another specialized in reaction moments, while others were brought in just for close-ups or sleigh-pulling scenes. Trainer Roger Schumacher spent months preparing them so their movements matched seamlessly on screen. The sleigh scenes, in particular, were carefully rigged to look chaotic, without putting real strain on the dogs. Every Max you see was a shelter dog given a second chance, quietly turning a side character into one of the film's most authentic, emotional anchors. And that loyalty audiences feel? That part wasn't acting at all. Cindy Lou Who looks different from every other Who for a reason that had nothing to do with story or design. Child labor regulations strictly limited how much prosthetic makeup Taylor Momsen could wear at her age. The exaggerated Who nose simply wasn't allowed. Rather than fight it, Ron Howard and the writers rewrote the logic of Whoville itself. A quick line explains that Who noses grow over time, instantly turning a legal restriction into world building. The result worked even better than the original plan. Cindy Lou became the emotional center of the film, her natural face standing out in a town full of rubber and fur. Sometimes the strongest creative choices come from limitations no one planned for. Nearly every set in Whoville is intentionally warped, except one. Cindy Lou Who's bedroom was built with clean lines, balanced spacing, and near-perfect symmetry. Production designers did this to visually separate her from the rest of Whoville's chaos. She represents clarity in a town addicted to noise and excess. When the Grinch enters her space, the visual language suddenly calms down. No leaning walls, no distorted furniture, just balance. Ron Howard said this was meant to subconsciously tell viewers that Cindy Lou sees the world clearly before the Grinch ever does. It's an invisible storytelling trick that works instantly. You don't notice the symmetry, you just feel relief, and that's exactly the point. Martha May's look isn't just glamorous, it's quietly emotional. In several scenes, especially when she talks about the Grinch's childhood, her hair sparkles with small red gems. They're nearly identical to the ornaments young Grinch made for her in school before he was humiliated and ran away. The movie never calls attention to this. No dialogue explains it. But the visual connection is hard to ignore once you see it. Many fans believe it was an intentional costume choice, a silent way of showing that Martha never fully let go of him, even after everything went wrong. In a story built on misunderstandings, that tiny detail adds unexpected depth. Proof that some feelings in Whoville never disappeared. They were just buried under tinsel and time. Where Are You Christmas became the emotional core of the film, but the version everyone knows almost wasn't the one released. Mariah Carey originally co-wrote the song with the intention of recording it herself as the movie's main single. A full demo was completed, and insiders have confirmed it still exists. Then, everything quietly fell apart. Officially, it was blamed on scheduling conflicts. Unofficially, industry rumors point to label politics involving Carey's then-husband, Sony executive Tommy Mottola, who allegedly didn't want her attached to a rival studio soundtrack. With time running out, the song was handed to Faith Hill, who turned it into a holiday staple. Carey's version remains unreleased, one of Christmas cinema's most famous what-ifs. When How the Grinch Stole Christmas premiered in London, it wasn't just another red carpet event. It turned into a royal occasion. Queen Elizabeth II attended the screening, which doubled as a charity fundraiser for the Cinema and Television Benevolent Fund. Cast members reportedly had no idea how the monarch would react to such a loud, bizarre holiday film packed with slapstick and green fur. While the Queen never publicly commented on the movie, those in attendance said the atmosphere shifted instantly once she arrived. After the screening, the venue transformed into a full Whoville-style playground with ice skating, slides, and elaborate sets. For one surreal night, the Grinch wasn't just a movie villain, he was entertainment fit for royalty. As Jim Carrey struggled with the heat, claustrophobia, and exhaustion of the Grinch costume, Ron Howard realized encouragement alone wasn't enough. So he did something unexpected. One morning, Howard showed up to set wearing the full Grinch makeup and prosthetics himself. Yellow contacts, padded suit, fur, everything. He didn't announce it. He just started directing in it. The crew laughed, but the message landed. Howard wanted Carrey to know he understood exactly what the costume felt like. For Carrey, that gesture mattered more than any pep talk. It wasn't about toughness, it was solidarity. And after that day, the tone on set noticeably shifted, with renewed respect between director and star. Whoville's strange, bouncy energy wasn't accidental. Ron Howard didn't want the town to feel like a set filled with normal background actors. He wanted it to move the way a Dr. Seuss illustration looks, elastic, playful, and slightly off-kilter. So instead of traditional extras, the production hired circus performers, acrobats, contortionists, and physical comedians. These performers knew how to exaggerate movement without making it feel forced. Simple actions like walking, waving, or turning around were stretched just enough to feel whimsical without becoming cartoonish. Most viewers never realize they're watching trained circus artists. They just feel that Whoville has its own rhythm. That subtle physicality is a big reason the world feels alive rather than staged. Whoville wasn't just meant to look strange, it was built to feel wrong. Production designers intentionally avoided straight lines, level floors, and symmetrical doorways. Almost every building leans, curves, or narrows in ways that subtly throw off depth perception. Actors have said walking through Whoville felt slightly disorienting, like the town was tilting around them. This was done on purpose to reflect the Grinch's emotional state. The world is cheerful, colorful, and joyful, but never stable. It's a place where happiness feels overwhelming if you don't belong. Even the stairs were built unevenly to force exaggerated movement. Most viewers never consciously notice it, but their brains do. Whoville isn't just a setting, it's psychological pressure dressed up as Christmas cheer. The Mayor Mayhew election scenes weren't filmed like comedy at all. Ron Howard deliberately staged them using real political ad techniques, exaggerated smiles, slow-motion crowd reactions, awkward handshakes, and overly rehearsed gestures. The idea was to make the cheer feel artificial, not funny. Jeffrey Tambor leaned into this by studying real campaign footage, copying the way candidates pause too long, wave too stiffly, and pretend to listen while already planning their next line. Even the chants and applause were timed to feel slightly off, like focus-grouped enthusiasm instead of genuine excitement. It's why those scenes feel uncomfortable rather than silly. Whoville's happiness isn't organic, it's performative. And that pressure cooker positivity is exactly what pushes the Grinch further away, long before Christmas ever arrives. Behind all the green fur and Christmas chaos, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was a movie built on pressure, precision, and hundreds of details most viewers never notice. From hidden design choices to subtle storytelling tricks, every frame was carefully engineered to shape how we feel, not just what we see. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll love this one. Check it out next.